Grab your pre-workout and turn up that volume. It is time for a new episode of the Powerlifter's Den with your host, Cam Smith. What's up, Powerlifter's Den family? Want to rep the podcast and look good while doing it? Check out my official merch store at plden.company.site. We've got tees, hoodies, beanies, hats, and more, and gear that'll keep you motivated in and out of the gym. Every purchase helps support me and the podcast and keeps the den growing strong. So whether you're hitting a heavy squat session or just lounging in style, we've got you covered. Head to plden.company.site and grab your merch today.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Powerlifting Den. I'm your host, Cam Smith, and today I want to bring on this former D1 athlete who's become an animal in the powerlifting space. Tyler, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Tyler Williamson. I'm the owner of Texas Iron Republic, current all-time world record squat in the 220 class, and now pursuing the 242 class as well.
Yeah. So I mean, to get started, obviously, I mentioned that you were a D1 athlete, and kind of makes sense that you were a long jumper now that you have an all-time squat record. So maybe tell us about what kind of got you into long jumping in the first place.
Yeah, well, it's like most things I've tried and just became good at. And I just figured, if I was already pretty good at something, to keep on trying to get better at it. I was always fast, so a lot of fast twitch fibers. And, I came to that point in high school as a senior where, you lose out in the playoffs and then, in football, and then track season starts. And I always found myself looking forward to track season, even though it's brutal as far as like the training of track is just, it's every other sport's punishment. So it really brings out your willpower in that. So, and then being obsessed with like numbers and stuff like that. So just improving your personal numbers in track, I think is what kind of led me towards powerlifting. But as far as like how I got started, I was always really fast, and then I got really good at long jump, and then got a Division I scholarship to UTSA, where I went on to gain All-American status. I competed at Eugene, Oregon, which was pretty cool to be able to go up there and Tracktown, USA, and see a town that's basically revolves around, at the time, the thing I loved most, which was track and field. And then fast forward out of college, I ended up tearing my ACL before my last season in track. So kind of had to redirect and find what I was truly passionate about. It used to be that I wanted to, be a college strength coach. And, I didn't really get lured into like, going through the graduate assistantship, pursuing a master's. I really wanted to get to work right away when it came to like helping people, because I actually ended up finding a passion for helping not just athletes, but general population. I helped my roommate at the time lose like 70 pounds, right?
Oh, yeah.
Get to his best physical conditioning that he's ever been at. And during that, I was like, oh, well, maybe I should take what I have to offer elsewhere besides just like with college athletes, right? And so that led me towards doing some independent training and working. I worked with athletes for a little bit out of college, like baseball players and softball and volleyball and stuff like that, in the semi-private coaching setting. And then I decided it was time to go independent and make my own money. Then I met my wife. And I was in Cypress, Texas at the time. I met her. She was in the Woodlands. So I had to relocate to go move in with her. And that's when I took a job at the corporate gym. So further working with Gin Pop and stuff like that. And did that for about a year. And it was like, all right, my time is now. I don't really want to work for anybody else. I want to do my own thing. And, ended up going independent, training out of a place here on the north side for a little bit. And during that time, I was really kind of focused on like bodybuilding. I kind of found a love for bodybuilding. So I was doing mostly bodybuilding workouts. I would bench, squat, and deadlift, but like, volume and stuff, right? And ended up putting on a lot of muscle mass. When I was in college, I was about 165. And then when I started bodybuilding, I got to around like the, over 200 pounds, I guess you could say. And over and 4 years of bodybuilding, it just became one of those things where it's like, I want to be competitive at something, but I don't want it to be something that requires like the drug use that being the best of the best in the world requires. And, anybody can refute me on that, but that's what it comes down to, is you have to have great genetics and you have to be willing to subject your body to lots and lots of drugs.
Yeah.
And I just didn't really see myself wanting to do that. Right. A lot of times when people talk to me like, oh, what do you do for powerlifting and stuff? It's like, I really don't do much. Anytime I tell people what it is like, oh, some test. And, when it gets closer to contest, may I do a couple orals or something like that. But like, it's not complicated. My coach was blown away when I told him what I would normally do.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of powerlifters benefit from like literally just TRT doses. And like you said, maybe a couple orals here and there for like the raw guys. The people in equipped usually can't handle that because the blood pressure goes through the fucking roof. But
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where you start getting a diminishing return at some point, and hopefully that doesn't mean severe health risk, right? So, but anyways, fast forward, I did bodybuilding for a little bit and realized, I want to try something else. And my first thing I did was actually, there was a thing called strongest man in Houston, or Houston Strong. It was Houston Strongest. It was a strongman thing. So I did that and I absolutely loved it. It was like the first time I've gotten back into like the high school, like football locker room feel.
Yeah.
And that's something that whenever you've had it your whole life, that you're always urging to kind of be able to go back to, is that same kind of feeling where you're just getting hyped up around all your brothers and, just bringing out that extreme intensity that nothing else can compare to. Right. And I got that from strongman, but I was like, okay, well, I did okay at this, but I don't really, I'm so much better at some of the other lifts than some of the strongman stuff. Right. So I decided to enter my first powerlifting meet, which at the time was Bend the Bar. Huge meet at the time, by the way. USPA. It was, I think it was 3 platforms.
Oh, wow.
It's like 160 lifters. Huge event. And at that meet, I placed 3rd overall. I took a state record squat and did a 502 dots. My first meet out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I was like, I think I'm going to stick with this. Right. And that's kind of just like cascaded into everything after the fact. There was a time, the first 2 years, 2022 to like 2024, where I really wanted to spend most of my time like building the gym up. And the first like 6 months, we didn't have AC, and it's a 10 building, so it was like 120 degrees in there. I'm like, I'm all for like hardcore this and that, but what it comes down to is like a power lifter, you kind of want ideal conditions. You want things, to have variables that are under your control, meaning like if I'm only going to be able to do 1 set of squats and that's about it, I'm kind of limited on my performance gain advantage. Right. So it was just one of those things that I put a pause on it. We ended up getting in, insulation, AC, and Texas Iron Republic's changed immensely since we've first opened. And now it's like an environment that truly someone like myself or like-minded individuals can thrive.
Yeah. So kind of going back to the college, obviously I think it's important to talk about how like a college career shaped a powerlifting career, because a lot of us come from that college sports background. So you said you were obviously much lighter back then, and training looked a little bit different, but how did you guys train in the weight room kind of for the sport?
I would say it was, we did squats. We did front squats. We did some Olympic lifting. My coach in college was mentored by a longstanding coach at UT, their track program. So he basically handled the strength conditioning. So a lot of it was based on like old school, like Olympic lifting style, training, which I enjoyed. I liked power clean. I like jerk, stuff like that. It was cool. Looking back, I probably, if I was the coach, I would probably have done things a little differently.
Yeah.
Because what you know in college and what you know like after you've done it for 10 plus years professionally is drastically different.
Yeah.
But it worked. Everything works, but nothing works forever is what I've learned as a coach. So that's just kind of what I'll say about it. But what it comes down to, and I think in most sports, is you get better at the sport by doing the sport. So the sprint workouts, it was all up to me. I went from being the fastest guy at school in the district and possibly even the state to, if I don't push myself in practice, I'm going to be coming third and fourth on these reps. And there's your scholarship going away. We didn't have NIL back in 2000. Was it 12 and whatever? We didn't have the NIL, partial scholarships only. So I'm out there busting my ass doing sprints, plyometric workouts in the middle of the sun in San Antonio, Texas, and all trying to get something more than just books and tuition.
Yeah, and I think one of the things too, I think one of the big disconnects with kind of strength coaches in college sports is that they always try to be just sports specific, and there's a lot of them that miss the simplicity of the compound movements. And I think that disconnect is like you were saying, like, yeah, they did like the Olympic lifting stuff, but at the end of the day, like a back squat's going to benefit almost any sport.
I'll speak on that because that's been my thing with it. It's like I'm sure there's some great strength coaches out there that do very well with Olympic lifting, but you can do the same thing with dumbbells or a trap bar and just eliminate the catch phase. You know what I mean? So it's just like there's certain things where you can actually simplify it to where the entry level to it takes a lot less time. Like there's a whole learning phase. I mean, I remember there was 2 weeks where it was PVC work with a lot of the athletes, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, we could have already been producing maximum strength and power, so I don't know. I'm not in that world anymore, so it's tough for me to speak on it, but I do know the things that I do know just from training all different types of people and understanding that it's not always about me being right, but just getting it right is the number one thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so do you still incorporate front squats in their training today? I feel like
I haven't done a front squat in a long time. I do hacks. I do pendulum style squats. I really, this last prep, we've been doing some TKE on the belt squat in a wide stance. So it trains my squat in a stance it's never really trained in.
Yeah.
And then it hits the muscle groups that I'm weakest at. The TKE helps to fight off tendonitis in the knees and stuff. So that's been really nice. Adductors seem to be, stronger than they've ever been, with the exception of kind of straining it a few weeks ago. But I mean, no one at my body weight's been doing the weights I'm doing at the speed I'm doing them at right now. So, I'm in uncharted waters, essentially. You can prep only so well, but nothing's like a for sure thing. Right. So, but yeah, I would say that I've just kind of switched focuses on the accessory stuff. And that's mainly due to my 4 years of bodybuilding. It kind of opened my eyes to, doing accessories a certain kind of way. And then every once in a while, I'll go back into my sports performance tool bag and utilize some of that stuff as well with power generation and things like that. And I specifically put equipment in my gym that reflect basically my past experiences and what I've grown to love and know that works.
Yeah, and I found that you mentioned like how you train your accessories. I think that's something that's often overlooked because I'm sure a lot of us started training our accessories like an athlete. You're trying to be explosive and stuff, but once you kind of switch into training them more like a bodybuilder and like slow it down, maybe go a little bit lighter, like focus on that tempo and that isolation, like that you get so much stronger from that you wouldn't even realize. Like I started basically was cutting the weights in half that I was doing just to get that like nice smooth tempo, and now I'm kind of back to where I was with weights before, and my strength has gone through the roof from that.
I've found there's a time and place for everything. Like right now, I'm about 2 weeks out. I don't do a lot of accessories right now just because like
Yeah.
the sheer fatigue that's created from my main lift is a lot. Um, but like, yeah, like when you're not pushing the intensity as high on your compounds, your main lifts, your comp lifts, you have a opportunity there to really gain some extra exposure to accessories that you otherwise weren't, wouldn't be able to use. And what I've noticed is like as it gets closer to like competition time, it's like you can switch from like your bodybuilding hypertrophy stuff into, okay, well now my main lifts are acquiring a bunch of fatigue. I can use something like a dynamic effort method, and utilize those fast twitch fibers at a lower percentage, so that I'm not just acquiring more and more fatigue, that I'm actually counteracting fatigue by reintroducing explosiveness, right? So there's ways to go about it, and there's so many tools out there at your disposal that it's really about how you craft everything together, and it makes it work for you based on the feedback you're getting from your body. A lot of it's you just got to be intuitive with it.
Yeah. And as far as you specifically, I would assume you're more of a quad dominant person.
Yes, yeah, I would say very quad dominant. My glutes are strong too, though, but definitely realize that my adductors are probably my weak link right now, as I would think most people, is it's probably the least trained muscle across the
Oh,
population for legs.
100%.
So yeah, it's something I'm trying to work on bringing up. I've been able to do my normal weights without any pain lately, so that's been good. What sucked is I was entered into an awesome competition. I was supposed to be competing with Dan and Andrew up there in North Carolina, and 2 weeks out, I got a strain in my adductor. It was like I felt like two pops, and then the day after it was sore, and the day after that it was sore, and I was just like, man, I think it can be healed, but that's a long trip, and it's a lot of uncertainty at this moment in time for being 2 weeks out. But luckily, I was able to get into a meet San Antonio here in 2 weeks, and that gives me a total of, I don't know, 4 weeks of recovery time from that incident. So feel a little bit better about it now.
Yeah. And I the adductor's the thing with me too, where for me being in the gear, obviously it's a much wider stance, and
Right.
I have very like mobile hips, but so I could physically go really wide, but I don't have that like strength and stability in my adductors to be able to handle that. So that's something that I have a huge focus on right now, because you don't realize how much something as small as that muscle can make a difference.
I had to actually switch. Let's see, I was pulling sumo for a couple years, actually. I gave it a good try. Um, but what I noticed is, even though I squat a little closer stance, I was still getting a bunch of like um, extra strain on the outside of my hips. And it was probably because my adductors were weak and not doing their job, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's kind of gone away since I started pulling conventional again. Um, I'm I'm very happy with where conventional is right now. I almost hit 800 pounds in the gym so far, so I'm right there knocking on 800 pounds. Which, man, if I could pull that off at the meet, is going to be so hype. I cannot wait.
Yeah, that's something that I have on my radar as well too, for probably a few meets from now, but it's definitely one of those numbers that everyone is sought after at some point, and
Yeah.
it's a really big. I still think to this day, whether it's raw equipped, whatever, the deadlift is still the truest test of strength. So
It is, but it's not the scariest. I will say
yeah,
that.
well, yeah, you just got to stand up with it. It's
Right.
Meanwhile, the squats and stuff can get a little sketchy, but as far as obviously you've been a 220 like raw person, you're pretty much your whole career, and you're kind of stepping into new territory. Along with that, has you ever considered using wraps as well?
I tried wraps, man, they are so uncomfortable. Hats off to everybody who does wraps. I don't think I get like what you would want to get out of wraps, mainly just from a psychological standpoint. I don't think. I'm sure if I really dedicated some time to them, I would be really good with them.
Yeah,
But last time I really did any kind of real training with wraps was high school. and that was only for like a short period of the year, so yeah, today, the sleeves are good and stuff like that. So it's like, I got my own sleeves out now, which is cool. I don't want to name any other companies, but it's a typical cone sleeve, but the bottom is a little more forgiving around the calf. That's usually what the trade-off is with cone sleeves.
Yeah.
They usually like
rip your
suffocate
calves.
your calf. Yeah.
And I have small calves too.
these are easy to get on and off and stuff. So, I mean, I feel really good with sleeves right now. If, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll be the old man who like jumps in gear later on in life and throws wraps on and stuff as well.
Oh yeah. So what made you kind of decide to finally move up to the 242 division?
Hold on. Dog is hitting the lightsaber. Hey, stop. No, sorry. The lightsaber is going crazy right now. I have a 5-year-old. So is it? Hold on. I'll be right back.
Okay.
What were you saying again?
Just what made you finally decide to go to the 242 division?
242?
Yes, sir.
Man, I don't know. It's not that I've had to like weight cut necessarily for 220. But I always figured, I can squat pretty good with being at, where I'm at. But, if I could add it on another 20 pounds, what could I pull off? So it was just more out of curiosity than anything, just kind of seeing what my body can do a little heavier. Because I mean, since I've been powerlifting, which is, I think, like 7 years, I think like that. I've always been in the 220 class. So I decided, let's really push some food and, build some tissue and see what we can do.
Yeah. And so do you think that now that you've decided to do that, obviously you haven't seen like what the results are going to be from that. And have you kind of maybe thought before maybe moving up, or is that something that you were kind of focused on the dots, or like what was the logic behind trying to stay 220?
So I have like 2 goals, right? It wasn't really trying to stay there. I think it was, some of it was dots, I would say, in 220 class. And, and I felt like I was very capable of being the best squatter in that class. 242 is another animal. There's some really, amazing people that have stepped on the platform at 242. So it was just like another challenge, I think. But, to be completely honest, it's one of those things, like I said, whenever I switched from bodybuilding to, strength sports, it was just like one of those all of a sudden kind of like epiphanies, like, hey, I'm ready to try something new.
Yeah.
So I have noticed that bench has been much better. And, bench and squat, even deadlift, like they're all 3 substantially stronger right now. So I have seen a benefit from it. Now it is interesting just like waddling around, throughout the day, because you can feel the extra size on your frame. Like my feet hurt sometimes, and it's like these are like fat people problems,
Yeah, and I kind of did something similar. Like I was at the 242 for a while, and I was like, well, I'm 6'2", so I have like a large frame. I was like, there's no reason for me to stay at this weight class. Like, might as well grow into it while I'm young, put on some size. And what you're saying is right. Like right now, I'm like 255-ish. Like I can fluctuate up to 260, but there was a couple of times when I was like a bloated like 265, and like I felt like shit. And I was like, all right, I'm not ready to be this heavy yet.
Yeah, it was one of those gradual processes. Like I didn't put it on like that fast, I would say, but it was like, a pound or so every, week or so, and really pushing food. Now it came a point where I was like, pushing the food is very uncomfortable. Now I think the mass that I've acquired, I don't have to like force feed myself to stay 240 now, which is nice. But the process getting there, pretty uncomfortable. I agree.
Yeah. But before we kind of dive into the upcoming plans, let's go kind of backtrack to when you hit that world record. Maybe tell us about the prep leading up to it and kind of the plan of like, all right, I'm ready to go do this.
So originally, like I said, I'd stepped away from the platform for 2 years, and we had an XPC meet, I think, or a PLU. We had an XPC that I did, and that was the first time I had squatted. I think it was like 782 or something like that, which was a PR for me on the platform. And then we had was it like another, and then I got invited to the PLU Power Surge, where I got to compete with John Hack, which was really cool, being able to go to Chicago and compete on the pro stage. So that was something I wanted to do, and went up there and I squatted 800 on the platform for the first time. So a little small, PR there, and got to knock that off my to-do list. And then after that, I think I took a good 6 months and said, I've already done the pro stage, I've done the travel, things like that. But what I haven't, what I really wanted to do was have like that old school, very hype meet at the gym. And we did what was called the Texas Iron Throwdown, or I think that's what it was. Yeah. And anyways, had JP Carroll and the people from SPF come out, and it was one of the most hype meets, I swear. It was so much fun. And during that prep, it was just one of those things where I didn't have a lot of things that like made me take steps back during the prep.
Yeah.
And I started doing, an undulated approach with my training, where on one week I would push my squat a little bit, and on that same week I would pull the deadlift back just a little bit, and then just kind of undulated it all the way up until the meet day. And I didn't have anything that bothered me, no aches or pains or anything like that. So it just ended up being one of those things where like I had the perfect prep to pull off something that's never been done, or it has been done, but slightly less. Right. So, yeah, I mean, it just ended up being one of those things where I, went on the platform, smoked my opener, which I think was like, did I open up at 826? I think it was like 826 or something, or maybe a little less, and then jumped right to 854. Now, the first time I got on the platform with 854, I think my height setting was messed up or something, right? So I went to stand up and it was still connected to the rack. So, I took, I racked it, and they're like, you got 30 or 60 seconds, or wherever they said, right, to reattempt. And I said, I'm just gonna scratch this and I'll come back to it on a third. And that's what I did. And I went out there on my third and smoked it. So, it's just one of those things that, like, if you're listening to this, know that a good squat strategy sometimes, if you're a big lifter, is to take what you want on your second.
Yeah.
Because if you have something like that happen, you can go ahead and retake it on the third. You don't have to be rushed, because I think a lot of people, they get lost in the moment, they get frantic, and they think they have to do that, and then something goes wrong, and they can really screw themselves.
Yeah. So I'm assuming now that you're kind of venturing into 242, the record's about 22 pounds more. So is that something that you're going to be going after?
Yeah. My goal for this meet is 400 kg.
Okay.
So I want to take it, but not just chip it. I want to, it's not really about records to me. No, that's what most people may think, but like, it's not. I really don't. It's more about a numbers thing. Like I said, I was a track guy, right?
Yeah.
In track, it's like, if you break 10 seconds, you're a freaking badass, right? Or, and for me, I think that, why go just shy of 400? Just go 400. If it happens, it happens. If not, you tried it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up at like 826 or something like that, and then jump right to 881.
And is there anything that you think specifically needs to happen in this prep or training for it, or is it something that you kind of just need to keep doing what you were doing?
This is the strongest I've ever been. I just came short of doubling 834, which I'm not very good at doubles, but I had that adductor thing. So I think for me, it's just about, going into the meet confident and having everything hold together. I'm going to attack it. I'm going to, grit my teeth, head down, and just give it everything I got, but it's just the external variables. I need a good week this week. Let's see, today's Wednesday. I will squat in 2 days. Hopefully that one goes well. That'll be something in the low 8s. If things go good there, then I'll be fully confident in taking 400 kg.
Yeah, and so you mentioned that you're not really good at doubles, so we can kind of talk about this a little bit, because I think that's something that when you find like these top level lifters that aren't necessarily good at doing reps, I don't think it's like an endurance thing or anything like that. I almost think it's the lifter is so good at being able to put that maximum force output into one rep that it's nearly impossible to do that for multiple reps. So I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
Doubles, at least this late in the game. Well, it's not anymore, but me and my Coach Kyle Young, he pushed doubles on me for, I'd say, a good like 6 weeks. And that's something I wasn't really accustomed to, but it was also the thing I probably needed. Um, Being able to maintain the exact pressure, the exact positioning, and being able to duplicate it one more time, I think really helped me a lot. It is sketchy as hell though, because like you said, when you're really good at doing the one rep, you put a lot into that one rep. So you can't let it go after the rep's done. You got to duplicate it again. I think that is a new training approach to my squat that I haven't done before that I really, really liked. Um, and I can go into like bench and deadlift as well. Some new approaches there with me. Like I said, when I did the power surge thing, the meet, it was undulating singles, pretty much 10 weeks out and on. And the same thing with the one where I broke my world record, hex iron throwdown. It was pretty much undulating singles from about 10 weeks on. This time, I mean, I think it was like at 6 weeks out, I was still doing heavy doubles. So definitely a new approach on squat. And then on bench and deadlift, a lot of pre-exhaustion stuff was pretty new to me. These are new approaches that I haven't done before. But it's all been really good. It's all paid off. One of the coaches I've grown to really love and respect used to tell me that it's simple, but sometimes the thing you need is the thing you're not doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what got me to 2,100 total is not what's going to get me to 2,200 total.
Yep.
Well, that's kind of something I came to a realization of because, since I started powerlifting, I've been self-coached, and then having Kyle come in my corner and advise and offer some of his experiences that he had while at Kabuki Strength with Chris Duffin and them. It's been really nice. It's been nice.
Yeah, and I'm assuming for bench you're trying to cross that 500 mark.
Well, I've benched 500 multiple times, especially in the gym. I took just shy of it. I only took 2 attempts at my last meet. I just wanted to save my energy for deadlifts, I guess. But I've hit 534 this prep in the gym.
All right.
So little curveball though, because I was prepping for North Carolina, so I was on a Dynabody bench. So I'm having to switch back to like a TSS bench, which is slightly different, right? Like, people can bench on whatever. It's good to get a little exposure on what you're going to compete on, but slightly different groove of the bar and stuff like that for the TSS bench. So I may not touch the 534 on the bench, but I'll definitely shoot over 5 on my second attempt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming obviously the squat record is a goal too, but being able to put together that 2,200, like you kind of just got to play that numbers game too.
Honestly, that's the number one thing to me is in part of that equation is having the huge squat, but I definitely want to pull off a 2,200. I think it's so cool to me. There's only so many people that can do that, and to be one of those people would be a huge honor.
Yeah, for sure. The 10 times body weight total is something that you don't really see much. So especially in a sleeve division.
Yeah.
And as far as the meet prep goes, or just kind of training in general, what's your approach? Like some of the approaches you take in the off season versus during prep?
We did a lot, like I said, we did a lot of pre-exhaustion stuff. We used specialty bars in my off season for squat. Transformer bar, we used it a lot. We used the front squat setting on it in the very beginning. And then we slowly transitioned it more and more towards midfoot. And then we got a little closer to competition time. We switched to the bully bar. And then from the bully bar, we went to the straight bar. So kind of that timeline is basically attacking the things I need to get really good, which is strong quads, strong posterior chain, strong core, things like that. And good amount of accessories, long workouts. They were taking, good 2.5 hours for me. So people are like, oh, you should be in the gym, 45 minutes, whatever. It's like, I mean, based on what context, I'm trying to do some shit you never done before. So, but anyways, basically really doing variations that I'm not very good at and doing rep schemes I'm not very good at for a little bit of time, building a foundation that a huge squat or a huge total can come out of. I think too many people just always want to be ready for the platform, that they never take the time to just put themselves in the foundation of what's going to really set you up for a big total.
Yeah. And speaking of foundation, I think a lot of people are obviously are always concerned about the actual training and what you're doing in the gym, but the things that you do outside of the gym are arguably more important. So what are some of the things that you do in your daily life to kind of maintain that recovery with handling the weights that you handle?
I mean, honestly, it's just giving myself enough time to rest. Being a dad and being a husband and a gym owner keeps me occupied, and my focus is elsewhere than lifting weights a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there's something to be said about that. When you have things that take your mind off the gym, you tend to recover from the gym.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because I always tell all my powerlifting friends that one of the most important things you can do is to have another hobby. Because one, if you were to get hurt or something, or powerlifting disappear tomorrow, like what the fuck are you going to do with your life? But like kind of what you said, if you can, when you can take your mind off of things, and then when you kind of go to the gym and put the focus into that, you're getting more out of it than just draining yourself constantly.
Right. And I do some other like recovery stuff. Every once in a while I'll get some body work done, as far as like what I've really grown to like is I have a guy at my gym. His name is Mike, and he's from Scotland, and he's a world renowned expert in dry needling. So he'll every once in a while do some body work on me and stuff like that. And every once in a while. But I think the biggest thing is you see like cryo and all these other things out there, and it's like sometimes people just need to relax, and just take your mind off things and find something that you can also be passionate about. Mine is my family and my gym.
Yeah.
But everybody else, that may be something different.
Yeah, and as far as the gym goes, obviously you said you're a gym owner, and I think every gym kind of has their own personality, and like obviously their own story of being built and the process of like getting members and things like that. So kind of walk us through the early vision of the gym and kind of what you wanted out of it to what you have today.
So the number one thing I wanted was to cultivate the same type of community that you find at the local powerlifting scenes. I got into, like I said, I got into powerlifting, and I became friends with a lot of people in USPA, Texas. A lot of my friends started with that. And I wanted to have the everyday gym goer be able to experience how special that is. So number one thing for me was building up a community of people that can share the vision and thrive off of others pursuing this kind of energy and this kind of commitment to supporting others around them. That's what the number one thing was. It started off with a shell of, it was like Coyote Brown and like a 1950s auto collision store, and the back section, which we wanted, was promised to us like 3 months after opening, and it was shut off. The local high school was using it for some of their strength conditioning stuff with a private coach back there. And, it didn't open up to us being able to use it until like 9-10 months in. So we were like busting at the seams at like 7,000 square feet. And then we needed this extra 3,000 or so for our powerlifting, because we had on one side of the gym, you'd have powerlifting. On the other side of the gym, you'd have bodybuilding, and there'd be a turf right in the middle, separating the two, right? I wanted powerlifters to have their own section, right? To where they can be as loud as possible. I have a separate audio system set up in there to turn it up extra loud. And then in the front is like your bodybuilding and gym pop space, right?
Yeah.
So it started off with this like coyote brown, no insulation hot box. And now it's, fully climate controlled, 24-hour access, black on black, everything, hand selected equipment. I kind of got into like finding, unique pieces of equipment. It always was like, for me, it was about what purpose they served, but it kind of became fun finding like rare, odd pieces of equipment that people could fall in love with. And I'd say that that's one of the things that separates us from a lot of the gyms is our equipment. We have some very, very good stuff to keep your accessories interesting, because as a power lifter, I need more and more motivation to do my accessories, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's you hate doing it, but when you realize just how much you get out of it, and I do like when you do find some of those old school pieces of equipment, like you go to those gyms and you're like, what the fuck is this machine? You use it and you're like, why don't they make this anymore? And it's like, oh, they only
Right.
made 4 of these, but it's happens to be the best back machine you've ever used. It's like
Yes.
they gotta find and make more of these.
Yes, for sure. For sure. But the problem is, you got companies that do replicas of stuff, and you put it in a gym and it just doesn't look the same. It doesn't have the rust, wear and tear. It doesn't have the character on it.
Yeah.
So that's part of the fun too.
Yeah, and one of the things I can think of is like, have you ever seen like an H squat machine?
Yeah, that thing's a monster. I couldn't fit it in my gym.
Yeah, it's like the most absurd looking machine, but like people say it feels amazing. It's like or like the old Paramount machines. Like we have a bunch of those that evolves, and like they just did it. They feel so much better than some of the shit that they make now. Like now they make the Prime machines and stuff where you can adjust where it's harder and stuff, and like that's really cool. But at the end of the day, like when you find like one of those nice old school, like a good leg extension machine is like impossible to find.
Yeah, I got 3 leg extension machines in the gym. I got a Flex, a Cybex, and a MTS Hammer leg extension, it's the unilateral one. So a nice blend of good stuff there. They got to have some variety in there. I would always blow my mind that you'd have this like 20,000 square foot like corporate gym and has one leg extension.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, it's fun. I got a lot of stuff in there from like some companies that are local to Texas, like the Powernetics stuff. I actually went to where they used to produce that and picked up some stuff, and a lot of cool stories going and picking up equipment in the middle of nowhere. Got stung on my hand by a wasp, like picking some stuff up, like just real fun stories of me and my friends traveling around Texas and the country picking things up.
Yeah, so besides the obvious like equipment selection and building a good community, what are some of the things that you think makes a good gym a gym, or maybe makes your gym a great gym that maybe people wouldn't know about or talk about?
I think that there's a lot of big gyms going up, right? And I think that the thing I've seen is it dilutes the community of people. When people are working out alongside each other, communicating, talking, building relationships, I think that's truly what makes a good gym. Um, there's different classes of gyms. You got, influencer gyms where they don't want to be left, they want to be left alone. They just want them and their microphone and their camera, but you find that the best gyms isn't really that. I mean, sure, some people may record their sets or something, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is them interacting with the gym members next to them, rooting them on. Someone's going for a PR, stop what you're doing and root them on. That kind of vibe is something that's hard to duplicate, but the gyms that do it are very, very good. And those are the ones that people want to be at. And those are the ones that people spend 10 years at being a member.
Yeah, and it's funny because growing up from that scene of like I started in a local Y, and obviously I had my headphones on, and I wasn't a powerlifter yet, but when I kind of became one, I would still wear headphones and stuff, and like I don't think I've worn headphones in a gym in probably 4 years, and it just seems like a foreign thing because we have such a good community, and even, like, the Gen Pop people at our gym aren't wearing headphones because, one, we have this iPad on Spotify, you can put on whatever you want, but, like, we're talking, we're communicating, even if it's not about gym stuff, like, our community is more than just a gym, there's friends, and, like, our powerlifting crew is, like, some of my best friends, and we do things outside of powerlifting rather than just, oh, this is my teammate. We're gonna lift today, then I'll see you next week.
That's what it's all about, and you got a special place there, and everybody's going to have that special place. I hope that everybody does find a place like that does find a crew. That's one of the things that could make or break your success as, whether you're powerlifting, bodybuilding, whatever. It's heavily affected by who you surround yourself with. If you're surrounded by a bunch of people that are okay with where they're at, they're okay with not doing that extra set, they're okay with, skipping out on this or that, skipping leg day, whatever it is, you're not really setting yourself up for where you could be. You could be miles ahead with the right support system.
Yeah, and like two of my close training partners like just kind of are coming back from injury, and I mean I still have my full crew, but like I have like obviously my few guys that are the ones I like to train with, the ones that push me, and like John Rupo is obviously significantly stronger than me, so like I have something to chase. So now that he's coming back, like I'm starting to train with him again, and it's that accountability aspect too of like, okay, well, he knows I'm not going to sandbag because if I do, he's going to be like, no, you're going to fucking grab the next set of dumbbells because that will look too easy. But even with you think you're pushing yourself, like there's always that extra that you can get out of someone else.
Correct. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like I feel like that's what makes the gym fun. Is it's not just the workouts. If it was just the workouts, like it wouldn't be all that much fun. I mean, it's just like I have to do this, so that I'm not weak and have no muscle. I don't see that being the gym.
Yeah.
The gym is a place where you can take out the energy and use it for something good and duplicate that energy through people around you as well.
Yeah, and speaking of that, we can talk about the story of one of your 80-year-old clients breaking all-time world records. So tell us about that.
Miss Beth. I've trained Miss Beth for 9 years, going on 10. She's very special to me. When I moved to the Woodlands area, I started out in the corporate gym, and I met Miss Beth on the tail end of my job there. I had switched to going to independent, and she was one of the only people who left the corporate gym to go pursue training with me at a hardcore gym, right? And she's been with me ever since. She started off with me doing like the bodybuilding thing and stuff like that, and then she got interested in powerlifting. Fast forward, I think she was sub 132. She might have been like 124 or 125 and pulled in the gym 253. She's pulled 242 on the platform.
Oh, wow.
80 plus years old.
That's insane.
So it's so much fun. And an old lady like that, she has these like 10-second deadlift grinds, It's not like us where we like reach the sticking point and say, oh, it's not happening.
Yeah.
It's like these older ladies, she's ran like 50 marathons, right?
Holy shit.
So she can get that bar and it will stay completely still at her knee. And then just all of a sudden it starts moving like an inch. And you're like, oh my gosh. And you look at the camera after you're done, it's like, that was like 10 seconds. I don't know how you did that. It's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I've also coached Josh Thiel for, let's see, has it been 6 years or something like that? 5 or 6 years. He started off with me squatting, I think it was like 550, and then went on to break an all-time world record at 859, I think it is. Yeah. So pretty cool to see that as well. So my 2 all-time world records are as a coach are actually from older clients.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the cool things about just what Miss Beth, for example, is like it's never too late. and two, it's like you get such a different perspective of just like an inspiration, because we see all these big name lifters hitting these big weights, but at the end of the day, like, it's really not the numbers that matter. It's like seeing someone be able to push themselves at that age is like more inspiring than any squat could ever be.
Right. I agree. It's in some of my most hype moments have been with her or some of my other clients as well. Seeing them succeed and seeing them, do something that was just a dream or a vision in the beginning of the process is pretty wild. And there's nothing more satisfying than that. My personal accomplishments and what I've done are mostly a blur on the platform. Like I just get in the zone and do what I got to do, but the memorable ones for me are definitely the clients, especially Miss Beth.
Yeah, and that's kind of a lot of what powerlifting is, and that's why I don't understand why all these people like to train alone and not have a crews, because the things that you remember 20 years from now when you're done and you're in a wheelchair because you blew out a knee or something squatting and all that shit, it's like you don't remember what you did on the platform. Like, yeah, you see the open powerlifting numbers or you have a banner in your gym with your record, but it's the memories that you make there, or you get to see someone at their local meet like pull 405 for the first time, or just there's so much more to it than just what you did.
My personal perspective on, people that want to just like film their workouts and be left alone is like they're doing it for the internet. They're not even focusing on the people that are right there in front of them. Like the people that are right there in front of you, the membership, the local community that you have, you're throwing that away to pursue people on the internet that don't love or care about you. Um, it is a hard thing for me to understand. Um, I do post my workouts. I post, what I've done in the meets and stuff like that, but never in the day am I thinking about that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like I'm working out today and I got my boy Alex is with me and we're just going to tear some shit up. Let's see how it goes. Right. Or JP or one of those guys. Like, and that's what it's like one of my coaches used to say is, keep the main thing, the main thing. My main thing is lifting weights with my friends, family, and supporters here at Textile Republic. And that's it. And supporting my family, and that's it. Like, it's pretty simple. All these people, they get so invested into like, oh, the integrity of powerlifting or this and that. And it's just like, bro, like get off the internet for a little bit, like go interact with people around you. You're letting this little freaking device control your life.
Yeah, it's like the whole go touch some grass thing, but go touch a barbell.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think, and I've always said this too, it's one of the things that I find funny. I was like, if Instagram was to be wiped off the internet tomorrow, I think 50% of powerlifters will retire, which is a sad reality.
Yeah, I mean, there's those of us who love it for its purity of what powerlifting offers to us, both from a personal standpoint and community standpoint, and then there's the other population that wants it for attention. Like I said, man, I guess it's probably because of my past. I don't really care as much because like I said, I've been on the biggest stage when it came to NCAA athletics and stuff like that. I've had eyes on me my whole life when it came to competitions. It's not something that I necessarily strive for anymore. I entered a pro meet, whatever, but that was more because I wanted to compete with really great lifters.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with any other optics besides that. But like I said, the purest thing about powerlifting to me is the people that are right in front of you. And doing cool shit with your friends so that your friends can also do cool shit is like, there's nothing else that matters to me in this sport.
Yeah. So I mean, you kind of just answered that, but like, if you could answer, like, what is your why in powerlifting, what would you say?
Personally, it's just an obsession with, further improvement of myself. But the real reason is to inspire the people around me and show them that with that hard work, and if you keep the main thing, and stay focused, you can do some pretty incredible things.
Yeah. And as far as I know you're competing in a couple weeks, but maybe outside of the gym or just kind of in the space, but not necessarily competing, kind of for 2026 or even a few years down the line. Like, what are some of the bigger goals that you have?
I'd like to squat 9, pull 8, and deadlift and then bench 550. So that would be a really good one to hit next. And then I think next year, thinking it's going to be like 5 or 6 powerlifting meets at the gym. So it's going to be a busy year. But other than that, man, it's just continue building the powerlifting community at my gym and using that to help build the communities of other gyms as well, and really help powerlifting flourish. There's a lot of talks as if to, like, meets aren't filling up or any of that stuff. I think it starts from ground zero. You can blame directors, you can blame, there's this many federations or anything like that, but powerlifting is born and blossoms from what you do at your local gyms, how you influence the people around you. So that's what I've been called to do, is to share my love of powerlifting and bodybuilding with others, and have them get hooked on the things that I'm into.
Yeah. And what do you think some of the, I guess, pillars of a powerlifting gym or community would be?
You got to have love. You got a bunch of people in there that don't like each other. They're probably not going to be there for a very long time.
Yeah.
You got to have love and support, and you've got to have some people in there that not only are really good at what they do, but they're also good at, looking at the person next to them as an equal. You can't have a bunch of hotheads in your gym that look down on people or don't help them, nothing like that. That's not going to be something. So you need your elite lifters to adopt this servant mentality, where they're there not just for themselves, but also to build up the people around them. If you get that right, you're probably going to have a pretty damn good gym.
Yeah, and I think it goes off of the idea of like the beginner mindset as well. Like, you could be the strongest in that gym, you could have every world record in the world, but if someone that knows what they're doing maybe has something to say that can improve your lifts, like, you got to be open to it. You can't just be like, no, I'm stronger than you, I know what I'm doing.
Right. I learned from a lot of people who are a lot weaker than me. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and it's always something that, like, just because you're good doesn't mean you know what you're doing. There's obviously a lot into that of, like, some people just are genetically strong and just can do whatever they want, train however they want. They're going to be an animal. But when you are open to learning new things, like, what's the worst that can happen? You try it, it doesn't work. Like, you're just, like you said, being a hothead for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big majority, I would say, of elite people that have the mentality of, okay, well, you're not this strong, so you can't tell me shit. Well, I urge you to look at football coaches in the NFL.
Yeah.
The coach doesn't look like the athlete. All right. So I learned a long time ago, my first mentor for strength conditioning was a female, but this female had 30 plus years of experience in strength conditioning on multiple boards for, NSCA and coaches, strength association and all that. And you realize pretty quickly you don't know as much as you think you know. And a lot of your elite level lifters and coaches, I urge them to humble themselves a little bit and listen, because you can listen and find that maybe there's some stuff that doesn't really apply to you or your beliefs, and there might be some golden nugget in there that might be the thing that you actually have been searching for. It's all about context, and it's all about how you want to receive information. But I learn from my clients all the time. I learn from beginners all the time. Sometimes it's just a reminder of something that I need to make sure of that people aren't doing. It's like, hey, I noticed this person did this today. Let's hone down on this today and make sure that I don't see anybody else do this, or I can help someone if I notice it. There's always an opportunity to learn from everybody. Now, I will say that a lot of the science-based stuff I just kind of look at and like, I'm probably not going to make my whole workout look like that, but
the Bluetooth D handles and all
right,
that stuff.
yeah, right. So there's a lot of nonsense out there too, but you'd surprise yourself if you humble yourself enough and just sit back and continuously be the learner. It doesn't always come from books. It usually comes from in-person interactions.
100%. And that's the best part about the gym community is, like, especially in the equipped world, like when we can go to these other gyms and learn like this new technique or how to set a shirt or how to set your straps and stuff, like that's only going to make you better. And so when these gyms kind of contain to themselves, like you're only hurting yourself because you're going to learn so much from, like, if you're, yeah, I feel like in the equipped world, each gym kind of has their own lift that they're really good at. And like, well, if you suck at bench, like you're going to want to go to this gym because they all bench fucking 900 pounds. Like,
Yeah. And I've seen some places that claim to be good and they make bogus dummy mistakes as well. So, no one's safe.
Yeah, no, that's powerlifting is always just a wild world, but I think we can wrap things up here. So I'll ask you my final question. If you could give a new powerlifter, someone going into their first meet, a word of advice, what would you tell them?
First and foremost, you don't have to be a certain level of strength to do your first meet.
Facts.
Secondly, have fun. Third, use your experience and use the love that you find for this sport to help the person next to you.
Love that. Well, I want to thank you again for taking the time to come on. It was my pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Cam.
No problem.
Talk to you later.
Have a good. Listen, I don't have a beard. I've got this glorious mustache, but even this stash deserves elite care. That's where Wicked Wolf Beard Co. comes into play. Their oils and balms keep the face fuzz fresh, soft, and ready for action. No crusty cowboy nonsense here. It smells great, feels great, and makes me look more like I lift heavy things. Beard, mustache, or something in between, Wicked Wolf's got your mug covered. Wicked Wolf Beard Co. Respect the stash. Head on over to Wicked Wolf Beard Co. and use code PLDEN for 25% off your order. Shout out to my guy Bear over at Summit Performance Therapy, the only person I trust to scrape me, needle me, and massage me, and fix my squat at the same time. If your joints sound like microwave popcorn, or you've been limping since Tuesday's deadlifts, Bear's your guy. He knows lifters, he is a lifter, and he's got magic hands, dry needles, and a deep understanding of how to not let your body fall apart. Book a session and tell him the PL Den sent you. Summit Performance Therapy. Reach your summit. Powered by Bear. Literally.